everybody! Let's talk about modern Roblox stuff! So, what's been about since my last video, and I haven't really had many ideas on what to post here since I've been focusing my creativity elsewhere, as well as working a full-time job. I'm sure John Algo's gonna love me for that. But lately, to break the silence in uploads, I had this video in mind. I want to sit down and talk about modern Roblox games that I think are worth playing. For how much modern Roblox has a reputation for not being good as the old days, and especially with the way certain people act about it, I think it should be acknowledged that there are still some games that are actually really good. After all, not everything has to be epic minigames or murder mystery too. So what I'm going to do for this video is run down different Roblox games that I think are worth your time in the modern era. I'll give detailed discussion of what the games are like and explain why I think they're so great. But also to be fair and less biased, I'll also include some gripes and problems with the games I may have. That way I don't sound like a mindless defender. I guess you could say that this is going to be like a bunch of miniature reviews. Also, heads up, we're going to be diving through multiple genres here, ranging from action to horror, so keep that in mind. I'll put some content warnings on games where it might be necessary. One more thing, just to be clear, this isn't an underrated games video. Every game in this video has varying degrees of popularity, so just in case there's any confusion, I just want to clear that up. Or in case somebody wants to be angry on Twitter. Now, let's stop dismissing everything as overrated and go over some modern Roblox games that I think you should play. Combat Initiation is a PvE game where you go through multiple stages taking down many waves of enemies, either alone or up to 6 players. This game has an aesthetic that's based on classic Roblox and features gameplay that's heavily inspired by Ultra Kill. What that means is that the game has a heavy focus on building up combos, whether by killing enemies stylishly or destroying multiple of them at once. And let me tell you, it can get addicting. You can snipe foes from afar with a paintball gun, use a slingshot to flip coins and ricochet at enemies, throw a super ball to bounce on a massive load of enemies, and a sword for slashing and parrying among others. While starting out, you might just stick to killing enemies in very basic ways. Once you start focusing on your style points though and begin going for higher ranks, you'll be going out of your way to affect one enemy's projectile into larger groups and other wacky methods depending on the synergy of your loadout. Once you start parrying, you can't stop parrying. Once you start slashing your own pellets, you can't stop slashing your own pellets. Now, this game does have a bit of a learning curve to it. Certain enemies and bosses are sure to give you a hard time when you're just starting out. However, once you get more experience and start to get the hang of the system, you'll be ripping apart those troublesome foes like tissue paper. All of the weapons available are able to be upgraded in the shop. For example, the sword can be upgraded into either a katana or a firebrand. The katana has high lifesteal and has a much faster swing rate, leading to more precise parrying, while the firebrand is a bit slower to swing but can be incredibly powerful once you get the hang of its own timing for parrying. Other examples include the super ball being able to turn to a magnetic ninja star, the paintball turning to a hit scan BB gun, and the slingshot turning into a freaking flamethrower. Combine that with the firebrand and it can turn into a weapon of mass destruction. Discovering all of the weapons that have functionality with each other is so much fun. Another factor about this game that I really like is its replayability. You start each game by selecting 2 weapons, while every 5 waves you're able to buy stuff from the shop. Then at the end of a stage, you're able to select 1 out of 4 randomly selected bonus items to give you an extra edge in battle. On top of that, you can customize yourself with different accessories that all give you different perks and effects. And you can earn more accessories by getting different badges, so do a little achievement hunting and you'll have some new goodies to play with. Not to mention on top of that, there's different modifiers that can affect the game itself, ranging from making the game batshit hard, to making all selectable items available, and even a randomizer. There's just so much that you can play around with and so many possibilities of what you can try. Add to the fact that there's multiple campaigns in development, and you have a game that's gonna last a while. I have yet to play Ultra Kill myself, but even without proper experience with the inspiration, I have an absolute blast playing this game. And if anything, I think that goes to show how well designed this game is. I suppose a gripe I have with this game is being forced to use a different avatar in-game. Now, I really like how they are able to recontextualize classic Roblox tools into an Ultra Kill style game, but this also means the game uses its own custom avatars and that mainly focus on being retro style. I just prefer to use my main avatar and deal with these limitations. The game has a vanity feature where you can wear accessories without activating their effect, so I think a regular avatar option could work out somehow. I mean, come on, Weird Shirt Dad has a game pass that allows you to use your regular avatar. Disclaimer, don't play Weird Shirt Dad. Also, there's still some more things to unlock in this game, but the only way to unlock them is to reach a really high level. Like, really high, like level 70. What the hell is up with that? I guess it encourages more playtime, but still, that's quite the grind. Well, aside from those complaints, if you want a game that has a super satisfying combat system, this is a must-try. This game doesn't have as many players playing it compared to other games on Roblox, and that's just a crumb that needs to be fixed. In the wake of Door's popularity, there weren't many other horror games that had ambitious ideas. most of it just being get into a lobby and go through a horror map or something. But one game stood out from the rest and came close to competing with yours. That game is Residence Massacre. Like Combat Initiation, this game sports a theme that's based on classic Roblox, but rather than blasting things away with slingshots and paintball guns, it's deconstructed and puts you in a grounded, realistic situation, surviving a home invasion. The plot goes like this. You get back home from a workday only to tune into the radio that there's been a radioactive waste leak. You're advised to board up to protect yourself and survive the night. For good reason too. There's a mutated monster running about and it's coming to get you. Gameplay revolves around pure survival until the clock reaches 6 AM. You have to board up the windows all over the house for some defense, but you only have so many planks. You can't use every single piece for every window, so have to find a way to split them evenly. That's just the least of your problems. Your house has a severe oxygen issue, so every now and then you have to go out to your shed and refuel the generator, which is kind of a problem considering there's a horrifying abomination lurking in the darkness. The only way to fight off the monster is to scare it off with light. It won't attack if a room has a light turned on, but having too many lights on at once will eventually turn off the electricity. If that happens, somebody's gonna have to grab a wrench and fix the breaker box, risking even more chances of getting attacked. Your best bet is to catch it lurking by a window and flicking a light switch to drive it away. But there's nothing preventing this guy from just walking in through your front door, so if you see that static building up inside your house, it's time to hide in a closet. There's a lot of things that you have to strategize in order to survive. This game offers an intense challenge that requires maximum precision in order to win. It also has multiplayer, so it's up to you if you want to survive alone or the crew of up to 4 people. While most other horror games with multiplayer usually just have it as a fun bonus and mess around with friends, multiplayer in this game can actually be beneficial and can add an extra layer of depth to the gameplay. Who's going to patrol where, who's going to check the cameras, and who's going to be the dedicated generator bitch. If everybody wants to live, everybody's going to have to do their part. Without prior knowledge of how everything works, you're going to die. A lot. But that trial and error is exactly how you're going to learn. What this game definitely thrives in is its atmosphere. It is oppressive. The lighting is incredibly dark and there's an overwhelming sense of dread. You never know when the monster is going to show up, and all the things you need to keep in check can make you panic. It overall just constantly leaves you paranoid. It's the perfect atmosphere for a horror game.
Oh my god, the ambience is not helping.
Adding to it is the design of the monster itself. It's horrifying. It's a regular Roblox noob that got mutated into this gory beast. Its design clashes with the simplistic retro graphics of the game, leading to a truly discomforting creature. Now, there are some grabs that I think are worth noting. The difficulty itself can be a major turnoff for some, since the learning curve is somewhat steep and not everything is as clear as it seems. That thing about going through the front door I mentioned earlier, it's still unclear to me if he just does that randomly or if it's because somebody was outside the house. The game also has a second chapter that takes place in a different location with new entities and different mechanics. Unfortunately, to most people, the new system in this chapter was considered a lot more tedious and unfun. I personally saw potential in it, but I largely prefer Chapter 1. This game is somewhat infamous for falling off through the poor reputation of the second chapter and having its thunder stolen by a weird strict dad. A game that blatantly tried to rip this game off and isn't even that amazing all things considered, let alone good. Luckily, they did add in this endless mode, so you can continue playing the greatest out of Chapter 1 until you drop dead. Assuming you can even get past Night 1. If you like horror games, I highly recommend at least Chapter 1 of Residence Massacre, and possibly even the Blood and Moon mode, which makes the first chapter even harder. And a reminder, don't play Weird Trick Dad. There are still people who have not played this amazing game. Asylum is primarily a PvP fighting game where you spawn on your 3 weapons, or, well, items. The first is a melee weapon, the second is a ranged weapon, and the third is a miscellaneous item that could be something like a healing pool, object, or NPC you spawn, or some kind of middle ground between ranged and melee. The objective? Destroy everything that opposes you, whether it be other players in a free-for-all or enemies in a boss battle. What makes the game fun is that every loadout you spawn with is entirely randomized. This means that there's an endless number of different weapon combinations at your disposal, and very rarely will you ever spawn with the same loadout twice. You could get a cracked loadout to unleash hell upon the fools, something okay, or hop out of crap covered garbage. But part of the fun is finding out what exactly every tool does and how you can use them effectively. Testing the synergy of your loadout and making the most of what you have is the key to success here. Don't just reset until you get a loadout you like, you fucking coward. Do not expect this game to be a balanced masterpiece. So many items can be borderline broken, but it adds to what this game specializes in. Pure, unadulterated chaos. There's not a single server where something doesn't get completely hectic. There's something ridiculous going on around every corner. Let's talk about the items themselves. This game's arsenal is absolutely insane. On one hand, you got simple handgun and swords, you know, basic ordinary stuff. On the other hand, you can also throw an entire fucking tank. A lot of weapons have such amusingly ludicrous concepts, and yet they manage to fit into a game like this so well. Many of them are references to popular and niche media, while others are references to internet memes. With so many items available, you'll never know what you're gonna get, and it's likely to pique your curiosity. It'll either be something you recognized, or probably something that you had to do research on. But the zaniness of it all just gives this game its own humorous charm. It's like the ultimate crossover game. Anything from any media can be put here. For additional hilarity, take the Ultra Instinct item and combine it with certain weapons. You'll get a drippy outfit based on the item it mixed with. The real standout example is you pair it with the Fire Axe. Combine these two and it turns you into Patrick Bateman. It's called Item Asylum because there's items here, and they make you go crazy. Okay, so at first glance, this just seems like something more than a silly meme game to just laugh at. However, the combat system is surprisingly in-depth. This game has a very delicate hitbox system that leads to precise collision, and lots of items have different hotkey abilities to expand upon their moveset. A big component of this game's combat is its ragdolling system. Simply put, certain weapons or attacks will knock you down to a ragdoll state. It's fairly janky at times, just like any other ragdoll system, but compared to other Roblox games with similar mechanics, I think this one has the most polish to it. You can really feel the weight and gravity of the ragdolls in this game whenever someone causes it, whether you be on the delivering or receiving end. And of course, there are laughs to be had when your character is getting flung all over the place. Another layer to this game's combat is how certain weapons are upgradable upon getting a certain kill streak. Nothing is better than getting rewarded with a powerful upgrade after doing a good job of getting plenty of kills in one life. I know it may seem like BS because someone who's already doing good gets to do even better, but getting the streak isn't always easy. You can get killed by something unexpected at any second, especially when there's plenty of weapons that do high damage or outright kill instantly. Seriously though, even without weapons that upgrade, getting a kill streak in this game is immensely satisfying due to how wild the combat is. It's TF2 style too, so when you end a kill streak, it is known. The tension just gets so high as you make your way up to 10 or more kills, but with enough dedication and locking in, you finally get FUCK! Seriously though, I think this game has this near perfect blend of being casual and competitive. It's simple enough to pick up and play, but has a lot of potential for skilled and strategic gameplay. It's the same appeal that Super Smash Bros. Has. Also helps that you do get coinbows at the end of a round for a higher kill streak among other things. Alright, coins. You're in coin at the end of a round. The better you do, the more coins you get. There's not much you can spend them on, just some emotes and player tags. At least the emotes themselves are nice and silly. There's even an emote where you can actually get someone to interact with you for a high five. As far as I know, nothing else like that exists on Roblox, so it's kind of impressive. If there's one thing that's guaranteed to be a good time with this game, it's the private servers. They're completely free, and if you're the server owner, they're given full access to a control panel that can control almost anything. In private servers, this goes from a goofy battle game to one of the greatest sandbox games ever. You can assign any item to anyone, so you can go ham and just give everybody those overpowered weapons, then watch the madness ensue. There are even items that are exclusive to private servers, so it's worth hopping on to experiment with the stuff that you'll probably never see otherwise. Just note a lot of the exclusive things are broken beyond belief. You're not only given control of items, but also maps and game modes, so you can keep playing Kit or Juggernaut until your heart's content. There's also potential to come up with your own ways to play using private server features. Me and my friends like to play this reverse Juggernaut game, where the selected Juggernaut has to equip the furry tag and everyone else is given a bat. The Juggernaut has to run away from the batteries until time runs out, or else they get one-tapped. It is a total mess and it's a ton of fun. I suppose now's a good time to talk about the alternate game modes, but this is where I start to have some gripes with this game, since these game modes can be pretty hit or miss. Kit is fun. It lets you choose from a variety of different preset loadouts every life. Boss fights are pretty cool. A decent shift from PvP to PvE, and on private servers you can turn on this perfect run modifier to try to beat the boss with only one life. Plus you can unlock special items in your item rotation if you manage to do it. Good freaking luck with that though. There's also Juggernaut, where one player gets to choose a special loadout and become a super powerful raid boss for everyone else to try and take down, which could be pretty fun as well. But modes like Zombie Survival, Team Deathmatch, Murder Mystery, and Tower Control can be measurable one-sided slogs. And even though I said the broken balance is part of this game's charm, some items really do just ruin the game. There have been other randomizer fighting games like Random Rumble or Illusions, and even Item Asylum itself was the first of its kind. That honor goes to Infinite Welfare, but I truly think Item Asylum is the peak of them all. It may honestly have my favorite combat system in all of Roblox. It's smooth, quick, and satisfying instead of being something slow and clunky. If you love chaotic multiplayer, this is the perfect game for you. Hey, do you remember the normal elevator? Remember how that was such a unique and interesting game during a dry period of Roblox? Remember how it kinda stopped getting updates? Remember how the creator made that one story game that was kinda ahem? Since then, there have been other elevator games that take inspiration from it, but the one that truly shined amongst the rest is Regretevator. Like most other elevator games, the premise is to ride down an elevator and visit a variety of unique floors. The main goal is to survive as many floors as you can, since while most floors are peaceful, there's also a good number of them that can kill you. And let me tell you, The worlds within these floors are boasting their creativity. These worlds are so expansive and full of unique characters. While a few floors are references to other media, there's also a lot of the original ideas of their own. There's a world made entirely out of cardboard, a park where Drain the Little Rock Johnson tries to crush you, a gas station in space, a pretty pink castle where you eat snacks, and hell, a dance floor above a meat grinder, and an old window screen to come to life. Something that helps is that this game has an easy way to access whatever floor you want. Most other elevator games just have you fork in Robux to pick what floor you want, and while this game also has that as an option, it also has items called floor tickets. On some floors, there are these ticket printer machines hiding in the corner where you can use in-game currency to have it begin processing a ticket that you can then pick up at a later time to spend on choosing whichever floor you want. Printing multiple tickets on once can feel kind of addicting. It's like managing a farm or working for a tycoon. Bad comparison? Yeah, probably, but it's still a nifty feature. To me, this game has such a surreal feel to it. With the overall weird nature of the game and the bizarreness of the floors, something about it just makes it feel all dreamlike. It feels cozy and fun to chill in. I mean, some of these floors are kind of fucking terrifying, so eventually those dreams become nightmares, but my point is, this game has such a fun atmosphere to it. Also, this game has some great music. What really makes this game special though are the NPCs who can join the elevator. The normal elevator did have these as well, but they didn't amount to much other than looking silly and were otherwise pretty generic. In this game, however, the characters all have varying levels of characterization with unique personalities. Amongst the different faces you'll meet, you can find a noob who loves partying, a mannequin obsessed with woodwork, a malfunctioning animatronic, a green alien space cat who sucks, a paranoid conspiracy theorist, and even a floating sentient gradient. All of the characters can interact with each other via dialogue if they're in the elevator together. It's through these conversations that you can discover different pieces of lore and tidbits about them, which I find really interesting. I mean, let's be real here. Who the hell gives a shit about Gavin back in the normal elevator? Now, look at Split here. She's a banana peel centaur girl who likes making silly puns and might be in love with that paranoid conspiracy theorist. There's so much to find interesting about the universe and all the recurring characters, giving the game so much life and personality. I know at first glance the gameplay itself may not seem like much, since it does just boil down to walking around floors and playing different minigames. However, let's take a moment to think about the fact that one of Roblox's oldest slogans is online social hangout, and I genuinely think this might be one of the best games to match that. This is a great game to simply hang out with others. You can show in the elevator to form interactions with new people and have the occasional minigame to shake things up. With how this game has a fandom all on its own, I think you can chat with some interesting people. I barely chat with weirdos all that much, yet this game actually manages to get conversations out of me. The other day, I met someone else who liked Pokemon, so we had to chat about what Pokemon we liked. Every now and then though, you find a guy who's a little too obsessed with folly, so it's not 100% sunshine and rainbows, but that can be a game for any community. Let's call it Regretevator, because I sure regret getting on this elevator. As for gripes, well, simply put, not all these floors are exactly winners in my book, usually due to their gameplay not being the most interesting. And some floors I just dread getting. Looking at you, Gregorius Fun Palace. The game also has a daily task system. It's not too bad, it's just do a certain objective and you get prizes for it. But the thing is, these tasks have around 20-hour cooldowns when completed. This means you can't just do a task at any point during a day whenever. You have to wait for the cooldown to end, which is sorta irritating. I could hop in after a whole day of work and still have some damn time left before I get a new challenge. It doesn't help that some of these tasks can be pretty annoying too. But hey, it's optional. Although some of these rewards can be pretty good. The game also has around 99 floors total, but the thing is, they're all differently marked. A shop floor every 10 floors is perfectly fine, but a lot of floors are marked special, which means they only come every 50 floors. I just don't get why this exists, because it kind of means you're going to be stuck playing the same couple floors for a while. Granted, there's still a lot of them, but you'll be getting used to familiar territory after a while. Also, for how interesting the lore can be, it would be nice to have a better way to learn about it. There's only so much you can get just by putting together the dialogue interactions, and the only other way is to look at a wiki that uses fandom. Hey, so update, because this video's been in the making for months now, cause fuck me I guess, they released the floppy update. So now you can find hidden floppy disks all over the place to give you more bits of lore. Some of these disks are in really stupid places to find, but hey, it's something. It's clear they listened to feedback, hooray! I can recommend this game to just about anybody since it's super chill and simplistic to play. It offers a casual experience without being too boring, so there's something to be enjoyed by all. There's LGBT representation here too, which is something I greatly appreciate, and I just love the NPCs. Plus, the game tends to be updated very often, meaning it's constantly active. It's definitely become one of my favorite games on the entire Roblox platform. This game's popularity is a bit strange. It doesn't have that many people playing it, yet it has a very dedicated community that follows it. So it's like this game is underrated yet popular at the same time? I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because this game is really damn good. Phighting is a team-based hero shooter similar to TF2 and Overwatch. It also has quite a bit of Splatoon sprinkled into the mix, which is pretty evident. The UI is cartoonish and expressive, there's occasional events where you choose between two teams like a Splatfest, and there are two characters who serve as announcers similar to Pearl and Marina. Gameplay consists of selecting a character and being placed onto one of two teams pitted against each other. Objectives typically consist of capturing the point, getting the most kills, or escorting a payload to the goal. Nothing involving culling the most turf though, sadly, so it takes some more inspiration from the other two games in that regard, but it's whatever. You have 15 characters to choose from, all unlocked from the start. Each character has their own unique moveset and no two characters play the same. Let me repeat that. The entire roster of 15 characters is unlocked from the start. No grinding or anything, everyone is available from the start, so you can just hop in and play whoever you want. This is something that a lot more battle games could really learn from, seriously. Like any other hero shooter, the character movesets have various abilities to make use of, each of them having cooldown timers. Each ability serves a purpose and should be used widely in order to play your character effectively. Each character also has an ultimate ability called a finisher, PH. These abilities slowly charge up until they hit 100% and can change the tide of battle when used. Another thing to note, you can't have more than one of the same character on the team, so it's best to learn multiple characters if possible. Or just turn your brain off and play Banhammer. Also, all the characters are named based after classic Roblox rules. Very neat. Now that I think about it, it's kind of weird this is supposed to be a video about modern Roblox, yet a lot of these games are based on classic Roblox. Isn't that silly? Gotta be real though, I had no idea what a biograph or mindset was until I checked this game out. The characters are all divided into three roles: melee, ranged, and support. The first two are pretty self-explanatory. Melee is for up-close smackdowns, and ranged is for shooting at foes from afar with the occasional reload. Support is a bit interesting, as characters in this role aren't necessarily healers. Sure, there's Medkit who either damages or heals depending on who he shoots, but there's also Subspace who specialize in setting up poisonous traps to slowly damage the enemy team. Another unique supporter would be Boombox, who also doesn't have healing, and instead focuses on pushing and pulling his foes around, while occasionally giving haste to his teammates, while also playing rhythm minigames. Even the other roles have a few characters that don't restrict themselves based on what they're meant to be. Scythe is classified as ranged, but her ammo has to slowly recharge and can't just reload, so she has to switch to a melee stance, which has its own moveset to build her ammo back up. And the melee role has Skateboard, who's practically playing Tony fucking Hawk. Like I said, no two characters play the same, no matter what their role is. This game is just oozing with personality. Along with the bouncy and animated UI, the characters have character. They have dialogue for multiple occasions, such as landing a kill, getting an assist, or whenever they use a finisher. Multiple characters also have interactions with each other at the start of a round, and through these interactions, like Regretevator, you can piece together the backstory behind this game. All the dialogue is done through text, but if this game somehow had voice acting, it would be perfect. And whoo boy, that soundtrack. It's worth playing the game just to jam to these tunes alone. You can also unlock different skins for every character by searching around the lobby and finding these NPCs. A pretty creative method of unlocking different outfits, gotta say. And the skins themselves look really cool and also have their own unique sound effects, and occasionally they alternate the dialogue. Just be warned, some of these outfits can get kinda pricey. Of course, the character designs by default are fairly interesting in their own right. As I said before, they're all based on classic tools, and the way they're done here is very creative. The Hyperloader is depicted like a sniper rifle, and the coils are worn and used like boxing gloves. I love it. The way I would describe this game's aesthetic would be that it's like if you took classic Roblox and gave it an edgy reboot. Except actually good. It seems the main race in this game all seem to be demons, and they all have devil horns on their heads, and you know, it's pretty interesting. It's not often you see a Roblox game have their own unique race to play as. It really adds on to the world building, and the lore itself can be pretty dark if you're interested in looking into it. My biggest gripe with this game would have to be getting into the matches themselves. To hop onto a game server, you have to talk to this NPC here and go through some dialogue. It's not too bad when you're just hopping on and playing by yourself, but when you're trying to play with your friends and other people, that's when things get a bit finicky. Firstly, you can't create a lobby, so you have to select a specific server from the list, and these servers fill up pretty fast. So you gotta wait until you see a server that's open enough and then tell everyone else that code and be quick about it. And then I remind you, you gotta go through dialogue options to even get to the list. It'd feel better if they had a party system similar to Fortnite or Overwatch to ensure that you can all join the same server at once. Overtime can also be a mixed bag. During this, your finisher recharges way faster, which can lead to some absolute mayhem. But there are times when the enemy team can make a really obnoxious comeback, or when I am winning, I just want the damn game to end. Also, just a reminder, this is still a team-based shooter at the end of the day, so some things are bound to get a little frustrating. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Personally, I wish this game had a matchmaking system similar to Rival. You can queue up with your friends on a team and then go through different servers fighting against different people each match. As of now, you're only put in one lobby and you're constantly playing with the same people over and over, and you're not guaranteed to be on your friend's team. Granted, if you were, it would be unbalanced, which is why I think the Rivals queuing system would be a better alternative. I'm also tired of finding the same damn katana user. Like I said, the game is still in alpha, so maybe a feature like that would be added in the future. Even without it, this game is still a blast to just hop on and play. For a mere passion project, this is super well made. This game does not deserve to be overlooked so much, and it's very much worth checking out. Did you think I wasn't gonna go over this game just because I mentioned it briefly earlier? Come on now, it's worthy of its own segment here. Doors has proven to not only be a phenomenal horror game on Roblox, but one of the greatest games on the platform. The game takes inspiration from Nico Rock's Rooms and Spooky's House of Jumpscares. Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion, and combines them into a roguelike horror game. Or is it roguelite? You're put inside of a mysterious hotel that goes on for what seems like an endless amount of rooms until you hit a specific stopping point. There's nothing inhabiting this hotel. Well, nothing but you and a collection of hostile entities, or your friends, or randos. It is multiplayer. Absolutely nothing is explained as to why you're here or as to what's going on. There aren't any notes or documents to pick up and read to tell you any lore. Hell, there's hardly even any dialogue, and the little bit that's there doesn't even explain much. Everything just is. While I know the lack of a coherent story might be a turnoff for some, I honestly think it's perfectly fine. Not every game needs to have some sort of deep, complicated lore that explains every little thing. If anything, the ambiguity of it all is what adds to this game's atmosphere. And let me tell you, this game has a strong atmosphere. The overall tone of this game feels super liminal, because the hotel just has this ominous feeling that permeates throughout the whole game. Just a constant feeling of unease that something could break in and end your life at any given moment. Which, to be fair, is kind of the case. This is helped by the game's amazing sound design. Oh my goodness, the sound design. The ambience alone carries the atmosphere in a way that not many other Roblox games replicate. You'll mostly be hearing chilling sounds of the outside rain and the occasional gust of wind, but every now and then you'll hear a creepy ambient noise that leaves you on edge. Sometimes the noises can be outright scary and make you look back with a false sense of danger. Now, what about that danger, huh? Well, let's get into the gameplay. It mainly involves going through all the rooms until you reach the end, while avoiding the hostile entities that work at the hotel. There are multiple types of monsters you will encounter here, and they all require a different method to avoid. Usually it's just hiding inside of a closet or anywhere out of sight most of the time, but other ones will require you to interact in some other way than just hiding. Knowing all of the cues of the entities attacking is the key to victory here, and without prior knowledge, failure is the only way to learn. Fortunately, all the ways to avoid enemies are pretty easy to understand, especially with the help of this guiding light that appears after you die. They'll give you a vague hint on what to do against what killed you, and each subsequent death to the same entity will give you more clear advice. Along the way, you can pick up some helpful items inside of the doors and desks scattered around. A good number of these are the light sources that can help with darker rooms. There's also some band-aids to recover lost health, as well as some pills, vitamins to give you a speed boost for a brief period of time. They used to heal you too in the older versions. I miss when they did that. Why would you do this to me, vitamins? I mean, they did add in this cup of green stuff that you can find, and it'll heal you, but what the hell am I drinking? One of the best items you can find, though, is this crucifix. As long as you hold this thing out, it just immediately banishes anything that tries to harm you. It's a real lifesaver in case things get really risky. Or just useful for getting rid of shit you don't want to deal with. To the Shadow Realm with you! You can also find gold amongst all these items. Halfway through the run, you'll find a shop to purchase some goodies with any of the gold you come across. At the end of a run, you earn coins based on your performance, and all of your gold converts into even more coins. When you begin a run, you can use your accumulated coins to buy a select number of items in this pre-run shop to give you a helpful start. Even though this game can be challenging, there's still a lot of stuff that can help you. What I truly love about this game is how it helps me realize how modern Roblox games can actually feel like video games compared to back then. Seriously, Doors School works so well as its own standalone game. The combination of polished mechanics and animations are just that amazing. The game is so good that it got popular enough for it to be recommended to YouTubers who otherwise would have never even touched Roblox. That alone speaks volumes of this game's quality. Truly, one's first time playing this game without any knowledge or spoilers is one of the best experiences you could have on Roblox. I certainly remember mine. Psst. What is it? No! The memories. Add some incredible model work to it all, and you have one of the prettiest games on Roblox. Did I mention this game also has modifiers? Go ahead. Hop on a private server with some friends and enable the craziest stuff, or enable only the random modifiers and see what the chaos the game decides to throw you in. Nothing stopping you from making a lobby with up to 20 people either, so go mad at trying to save closet for everyone. Doors can go from a horror game to a party game with just these changes. There's also an admin panel Game Pass now, so for only 299 Robux, you yourself can create that chaos. Now, gripes? Fuck the greenhouse, I swear. This place has no lighting, meaning you get no visual indicators for incoming danger. You used to be able to grab a candle to help you, but that got reworked, so it doesn't do that anymore. You can go through this fancy process to get a special candle that works like the old one, but it's so convoluted. So instead, you gotta camp by a closet to have an optimal chance of survival as you wait for someone to show up, and it slows the pacing to a crawl. There's also these snares on the floor that stand you in place and are just annoying. There's also this optional area based on the original rooms and, while I think it's better than the original, and like I said, it's optional, this place sucks too. The entities here are so annoying to deal with and require really precise hearing and reaction times, so you better crank that volume up and tread carefully. And while you only need to go through 200 rooms at the minimum, there's a grand total of 1,000 rooms here. No thanks. Now, those aware of this game may have noticed I've only been talking about the first floor of yours, the hotel. There is in fact a second chapter, or floor, the mines. It's a bit weird talking about this near the section where I list down complaints, because even though I haven't completed it yet, I enjoyed what I played. However, Floor 2 has been proven to be very divisive within the community. Before a patch, there were complaints about the difficulty being way too high, some mechanics being disliked, and the guiding light not being as helpful. Still, I played before the patch came out and I managed to have a fun time. Though I did agree with the guiding light point. There are some people who say this is as bad as Resident Massacre though, and that's just a bit crazy to me. It wasn't that bad, come on now. There's also this back door area originally made for the hunt event. It's pretty fun, if a bit anxiety-inducing. You gotta run through these doors as quickly as possible to keep this timer from running it down while avoiding unique entities. It's fairly short compared to every other area, and it takes you to the main game when you're finished. While some aspects of Doors can split opinions in half, I think there's still enough to enjoy here. In my opinion, Doors has definitely earned its popularity for being a polished and functional video game on a platform for experiences. God, I still hate that name change. If you don't mind horror games, I think it's a major disservice to not give this game a chance. It's a strong contender for the greatest game on Roblox. I figured that since I was talking about Doors, I'd give this game its own segment too. I just want to say right now though, I actually prefer Doors over this game. But I do gotta admit, this game definitely deserves all the praise that it's gotten. Why do I even bother? The main plot of this game is that you are a prisoner who has volunteered to join an expedition hosted by this corporation called Urban Shade to infiltrate this underwater facility undergoing a massive security breach. Your goal is to retrieve this crucial user of the power source as well as any documents lying around. If you complete your task, you will be pardoned and let out of prison. Problem is, you are very, very expendable. It's honestly hard to describe the gameplay itself because it really is that similar to Doors. There are differences though, like how the monsters in this game use Doors entities as a foundation, yet they have their mechanical differences to make them stand out on their own. With careful consideration, I'm going to keep the gameplay description a bit more brief compared to the other games. This game, in comparison to Doors, has batteries in their own stock reserve, and they can be used for every light source item, which this game has a strong variety of. There's also a dedicated healing item in the form of these medkits, so take that, vitamins! Instead of having the guiding light, all the entities have their own file documents that slowly get uncovered the more runs you fumble. You can check out these files at any time, and later on you can find special documents that give more information about the setting itself instead of just the entities. Something that makes this game stand out from Doors is the inclusion of these underwater sections. Every now and then, you're gonna have to take a swim to reach the next area, and these sections can be pretty scary. Your movement is much more free than on land, and you can still get into the lockers, but the sound while underwater is much more muffled. This can make it a lot harder to avoid entities when you have to listen for sound cues. Good thing you have unlimited oxygen. Just don't try to swim away into the ocean, or Urban Shade will blow your head off with a shotgun color. This game also has Sebastian Solis, one of the greatest characters in all of Roblox. He's the game shopkeeper and is a silly guy with a charming, lovable personality. He also has very tragic lore behind him that you can learn by purchasing the file on his desk. He's even voiced by Gianni Matragano, the voice of Gabriel in Ultra Kill. God, I love the Deep Sea Bunny. The game's atmosphere is top-notch. Take Doors' atmosphere and amplify it times 10. You will feel so much dread and discomfort as you traverse the facility even after multiple attempts due to how strong the ambience is. Not only is the atmosphere creepy, it's also bleak. There's the fact that you're an expendable prisoner who may not have even committed any crimes to begin with, mind you, but every possible thing that can communicate is super unfriendly towards you. It leads to everything just feeling hostile and oppressive. Even Sebastian, for as helpful as he can be, is still a massive jerk-ass towards you. Oh, come on, I'm just stating the facts! What? Even with the painter, the crazy AI trying to kill you, he has a bit of a somber background behind him, but he's still a crazy AI trying to kill you. Honestly, I don't really like comparing this game with Doors, because even if I prefer one of them more, I just don't want to say one is better than the other. Both games are good and have their own qualities. Now, that being said, let's get into my gripes with this game, leaving out my personal biases. Fuck the Gauntlet. It is so stupid. It's random and forces you to survive against this game's equivalent to eyes cracked up to max power. It's just a cheap way to drain all your health and hurts my freaking wrist. Oh, but Frog, just turn up your camera sensitivity. Well, turning up the camera sensitivity didn't cause your dad to come over with the mouse! Luckily, I play on a laptop, meaning I have an extra mouse. And recently, I discovered a way to cheese this crap just by just sliding your finger against the touchpad repeatedly. Suck on that one, you starving artist. That was mean. I've also never really been a big fan of this game's final underwater segment. It's good on a first time playthrough, but afterwards it just feels frustrating and tedious. At least in my opinion. Now, here's something that's not so much a gripe, but something to consider. Sebastian is easily the most popular character in the game. However, not counting any of his messages, he only appears once in the entire game. If Sebastian is the one that truly sells you on this game, will you be okay with how little he actually appears? He may be the one carrying this game's popularity, but you may be surprised how little he honestly does. Well, either way, if the main game doesn't hook you in, then maybe you'll like this graveyard mode. It's a quick and short gauntlet through a series of original enemies in a unique location. I just love how fun and arcade-like this mode is. It's really fun to hop in and run through while trying to collect as much trash as you can. It's kind of like a short little thrill ride. It is nowhere near as scary as the main game and is overall more goofy and comedic. I mean, the main plot involves putting a stop to a haunted rave party for crying out loud, and you're running from giant Scottish skeletons.
Come here, you pilfering swine!
It's probably because this game mode was created for the Haunt event, and apparently games for that event had to be kid-friendly, which is likely why the horror aspect was severely downplayed, but, well, most of us know how that turned out. Also, there's an endless mode. Self-explanatory. Try to go as far as you can and see what random bullshit you can discover with this. I guess it also helps that you never have to put up with that final segment in this, so that's a plus in my book. And as I was making this video, they also made this Hunted expedition for the 2025 Hunt event. It's single player and actually is scary, but I don't really care about it. If you are at all interested in doors, I think it's worth giving this game a try. You might like it, you might not, which you can say for just about any game recommendation. So go ahead and give the game a chance. You might find something worthwhile. If you remember what I said about doors, I said that modern Roblox games actually feel like video games now. Back then though, there were attempts to make actual game-feeling games, even with the limitations. If I wasn't trying to find some zombie game back then, God, remember Zombie Apocalypse? That was the bomb. I was looking for adventure games styled like Super Mario 64. Basically, games with multiple levels that had multiple objectives and tons of platforming. I loved SM64, so seeing anything styled like that in Roblox easily won me over. Sadly, these games aren't as functional as they used to be, and some of them are certainly a product of their time. Shall I get them? Oh, really? Oh Lord! Oh my lord! One developer who worked on games like these is Polyhex, the creator of Super Bomb Survival. They've been working on games since 2009, gosh, and they've only gotten better with time. Eventually, their years of experience would culminate in Define Everything. Currently, the game is in early access and costs 250 Robux to join, while the full game will be free when it gets finished. Let me tell you though, 250 Robux is a very worthy purchase. The game is based on all of those Find the Characters games where you run around a big map and collect 2D images of characters centered on a specific theme. The theme for this game is, well, everything. Creatures, food, objects, you name it. It's so neutral in theming that the main collectibles are literally just called things. The gameplay itself is styled like a 3D platformer, where the name of the game is to run and jump around to collect all the different things using a variety of different movement techniques. You unlock techniques by obtaining certain amounts of things and returning to this gym. The first technique is the double jump. Pretty standard stuff. It allows you to gain some extra airtime and reach new heights. Next is the roll. With this, you can get a decent speed boost on the ground, quickly roll down slopes and crash into special walls. And if you jump on the middle of a roll, you can perform a good old-fashioned long jump. And you even get a brief boost of speed after you land on the ground. With the right amount of momentum, it can also hit panels on the wall. Even if it's a little finicky. I mean, seriously, what the fuck happened here? Bruh. The last ability is the air dash. It's great for traveling more horizontal airspace and also hitting buttons that the long jump can't reach. It also brings back good memories of Mega Man X. And also the painful realization that Capcom will never make X9. In combination with the double and long jump, you can cover a great amount of distance in just a single sequence simply by chaining all of these moves one after another. Just be sure not to overshoot the air dash. And of course, comes a great platformer moveset, comes great speedrun potential. There are also some platformer mechanisms incorporated here. You got climbable walls, swings to latch onto, coils that work like Donkey Kong Country barrels, epic grind rails, and praying that you actually magnetize those grind rails. The game's world is very interesting. Everything is connected into one large open map, but it's all divided into separate areas with their own themes. Some locales are places of nature, while others are a bit more urban. It also helps that most areas have multiple entrances that lead to them, making the world feel really natural. Within these event zones, you can find these doors with their own little suburbs that tend to embrace their earlier Super Mario Sunshine. Since the game is still a work in progress as of this video, eventually you'll come across a section that's under construction. Gotta say though, I am excited for whatever they have in store for these upcoming locations. When it comes to collecting the things, your skills and brainpower will be put to the test. Most things will be out in the open just asking to be grabbed, others will require some extra footwork to reach. There are also things that come in multiple pieces that need all their parts to be picked up for the thing to be properly collected, and other things will require some tricky puzzle solving to succeed. Something that makes things easier to find is they have a distinctive sparkle on them, so if you're hunting for some, you might be able to notice them shining in the distance. Even then, some of these things are surprisingly well hidden, even if they're right there in plain sight. Like seriously, I just walked right past this damn picnic basket. There are also these things that are locked behind these time switches, where you either collect objects or run through spawned-in platforms in a set amount of time, and these can definitely put up a challenge. Fortunately, the game has a very useful list of collectibles that tracks what has and hasn't been collected yet. With the category feature, you can filter things very easily. Using the filter to check on the areas themselves can help you keep track of what things you have yet to be found there, and also help you know what you're looking for. Like any good 3D platformer, this game rewards exploration and curiosity. If you search around every nook and cranny, you're bound to find something. You see a small ledge around a corner, jump over there and you'll find something. A wall looks cracked or out of place, roll into it and see what's behind it. Look, you see a basketball and a basketball hoop. You know exactly what to do. You're gonna go over there and pick up that basketball, bring it over, and then you go for the slam dunk and win the— Oh. The things themselves are very amusing. While a good number of them are just silly objects or creatures, a lot of them are references to memes and other media. I love a good old Earthbound reference. On top of the references, a lot of the things tend to be quite humorous, and they all have silly little descriptions. Reading some of these descriptions are bound to give you a chuckle or two, and that's backed up by this game's style of comedy. The sense of humor in this game is just fantastic. There's witty one-liners all over the place, and you can meet many different NPCs who have their own quirks in their personality. While most NPCs are found only in one area, they tend to be memorable and have cute designs. Also, the humor itself can get kind of unhinged. Look, this game is kid-friendly for the most part, but it is not afraid to be crude sometimes. Says it right there in the content warning. Just goes to show that our demographics are changing. Anything that looks innocent at first could also end up being really twisted. Also, this game can just be fucking weird sometimes. Like, downright bizarre. And honestly, it's great. Let's call it find everything because you find everything. Overall, the humor gives this game a charm that's just crazy fun. I'm not having fun right now. I'm writing a video essay. No. Who keeps shooting me? Have I mentioned that this game's art direction is amazing? It's a wonderfully cartoonish art style that's full of color and expressive visuals. Everything just pops and is a real pleasure to look at. I am a firm believer that stylized graphics are superior to generic realism, and this game only solidifies that belief. It pains me that I gotta bring up gripes with this game because I do love it a lot, but I gotta be fair to the other entries, so allow me to rant about my personal issues with this game. While I find the idea of multiple parts for a collectible unique for a finding game, I just think there's too many things like this. You get excited to find a new thing, but then suddenly you're disappointed when you realize you gotta find more of them, and the amount of parts for some of these things get pretty high. Yippee City is especially bad with this, where there's at least 5 things like this. Personally, I also don't like the system of the right mouse locking and unlocking your camera. By default, your mouse is used to move the camera everywhere, but I'm the kind of guy who likes holding right click to move the camera around most of the time in Roblox. Granted, if you hold right click while moving the mouse, it won't register the toggle, but every now and then you do misclick and get a bit disoriented. I also think some stuff in this game isn't too clear, one of those being that some hazards aren't so easy to make out. Sure, you have your obvious boulders, spikes, and hazardous liquid, but then you have stuff like this falling trash in the sewers, which to me seem more like just some aesthetical effect, plus it kind of blends into the dark environment. And how the hell was I supposed to know this spotlight would hurt me? Is it just me? Something else unclear is how to delete your save data. It's not an option you select in the settings menu or anything. Instead, you have to talk to this NPC and confirm with him. He's not exactly hidden, but it's still fairly out of the way. Lastly, in terms of humor and characters, I wasn't too big a fan of this weenie guy. He's a parody of cartoon and animation critics, and the joke just didn't really land for me. The references he made were alright, but I personally enjoyed dabbling in animation reviews, so I more or less just rolled my eyes at his dialogue. It's just a personal thing though, and humor is subjective. Maybe it made someone else's day. I feel like my issues with this game are minuscule compared to the other games in this video, because like I said, I really like this game. I can easily set my problems aside and recommend this game to any 3D platform enthusiast. If you have the Robux to spare, I really think you should give this game's beta a shot. As I was working on this script, I realized there are a lot more games I wanted to put in this video. Problem is, I already made up my mind on what game I wanted to talk about. Plus, some games came out after the script started being written. But I really want to include them somehow. So before I get to the final game in this video, let's do a sort of lightning round for these honorable mentions. Super Bomb Survival. A survival game with goofy physics and a cartoonish art style that takes place in an arcade. You can have a fun time experimenting with different perks and going for big streaks. It's like a precursor to Find Everything. Shovelware Brain Game. A quiz show game featuring the classic dancing banana. Honestly, out of all games mentioned in this video, this game has the best animation and probably the greatest presentation in all of Roblox. Also, the humor is crazy funny. Robloxware. Fast-paced microgame action based off of WarioWare where you compete to get the most points. This game requires a lot of trial and error, but it's really fun once you get the hang of it. Just be prepared to get a little tilted. Defend the Train. Select one of 3 different classes that specialize in different fields to protect a cargo train from poisoned enemies. Along the way, you'll meet zany and wacky characters with expressive animation. Something evil will happen. A game with a 2010 aesthetic based on old-school disaster survival games. There's a ton of chaos with debris flying from all the disasters, and you can cause even more chaos by using different gears. The perfect party game. Grace. What if Doors was more of an action game that focused less on the horror aspect and more on fast-paced parkour? This game has insane movement and a very interesting set of entities to avoid. It has become my personal favorite Doors game. Get a Snack at 4 AM. A super charming adventure game where you try to find multiple endings, mostly to get a snack at 4 AM. Has a really silly sense of humor and a surprisingly cool story, also tons of references. Walking on eggshells here, I think Danny's World is a fun game. Play as a variety of different cartoon characters with up to 8 people in this PvE mascot horror game. The game has a unique art style and the characters have different abilities to help the team. Amazing with friends. Rooms and Doors. Probably the best Doors fan game on Roblox. It takes the original rooms with the Doors version entities and adds its own presentation style to it. The atmosphere is really effective. Michael Zombies. Good old Call of Duty Zombies action. There's a good number of COD zombie games on Roblox, but this one is my personal favorite. It's fairly easy to hop on and get into compared to the others in my opinion. Running from the internet. Take on Nextbox or other players with an assortment of random items that you pick up from Mario Kart item boxes. The game has fast movement, you can set up custom loadouts for items to roll. If you're not sold on Nextbot games, I think you should give this one a try. Forsaken. Look, if I didn't put this game on here, so many people would have been angry. An asymmetrical horror game where 8 survivors have to face off against one player as a killer using a variety of different characters with unique abilities. The gameplay is super engaging and is easily the best asym on Roblox. Retro Studio. If you want classic Roblox with a bit of a modern edge, or just a complete nut over the old days, this is the game for you. And now, that brings us to the last game of this video. Catalog Avatar Creator. God, this game is a lifesaver when you're trying to make new avatars. It helps figuring out what accessories you need, and you can test out the avatar itself in-game. Okay, enough joking around. Let's talk about an actual game. This game is incredible. Simply incredible. Block Tales is an RPG that takes heavy cues from Paper Mario 64 and Earthbound and combines them into something beautiful. This is another game that's a work in progress, but believe me when I say that this has high potential to be the greatest Roblox game ever made. Yes, this is another game that uses classic Roblox for its aesthetic, however, this has to be one of the best uses of it. Everything has a simplistic stud-filled 2010 look to it, even going down to incorporating the original chat bar on the bottom of the screen, along with the original chat menu bubble. The way the models in the environment also closely resemble the 2010 look. This is mixed with a striking outline surrounding the characters, giving off this sort of cel-shading vibe. This is topped with an Earthbound-inspired UI that's full of colorful checker patterns. All this culminates in a wonderful art style that is a joy to look at. The story begins when you're woken up by this penguin quote-unquote friend named Terry, don't pick fights with him, after getting sent back in time, and are summoned by Shed Lesky to Roblox HQ. After taking care of some bad guys, you're suddenly embarked on a quest to save the kidnapped Bonerman and retrieve all of the original Swordfight on the Heights swords. While the premise is a fairly standard plot, the individual chapters that make the adventure all have their own interesting stories to tell. You'll meet memorable characters that have charming traits and villains with ominous personalities to them, especially in Chapter 3. Oh my god. Look, I know Chapter 3 caused the game to grow in popularity and that a lot of people know of its characters by now, but I'm going to refrain from showing and talking about Chapter 3 as much as possible to avoid spoiling anyone who hasn't played it. Just know that it is really goddamn good. All of the characters in this game are just really fun and interesting in their own different ways, whether it be from their stories or just from their vibes and aesthetics. Gameplay involves traveling around the overworld making your way to the next objective. You can use your super ball or sword to interact with the environment, and later on you can unlock things like a shrinking potion and a pair of jet boots, opening the world for more exploration. Eventually you're going to run into enemies, and that's going to start a battle. This is the part where the game shows off its Paper Mario influence. Battles involve turn-based combat with action commands. Every weapon has a certain input minigame where succeeding will deal more damage, or deal damage at all. And you also have to press the button at the right time when enemies attack to take less damage. Really, it's straight up Paper Mario, or also like every Mario RPG ever. And it's just awesome! If you time your defense just right, you can avoid taking damage altogether and even counterattack. When you win battles, you earn XP to level up, and when you level up, you can upgrade one of your stats. HP for more health, SP for more energy to use special abilities, and BP. You can use BP to equip different cards for different effects in battle, such as stronger attacks, dealing elemental effects, or supportive skills. There is tons of potential of the things you could do with so many different loadouts of cards. You can be a dedicated healer, a specialist with stat effects, or a big defensive juggernaut with too much HP. It helps that you can rearrange your stats by going to this librarian at the cost of 6, so you can always experiment if your current stats don't fit to your liking. There are a ton of shops that you can buy items and cards from. There's a huge variety of items you can get in this game, most of them all being food-related stuff. You can get even more food by playing this fishing minigame. That's how you know this is an RPG. Later on, you can cook food in Chapter 3, and with that, you can get some really good items. Assuming you don't get something awful. So go ahead and catch a shark or two, then stew up some shark fin soup. The benefits will be worth it. If you do a little searching around the map, you can also find some bucks lying around. Using bucks, you can go to this guy in the alleyway to get even more cars that have their own nifty little effects. Coming up with strategies with all the different stuff you're allowed to work with is so satisfying. At the end of each chapter, you'll obtain one of the legendary swords, and they too are an option in battle. They work like the Star Spirits in Paper Mario 64 or the Crystal Stars in the Thousand Year Door. Rather than them being regular weapons, they're instead used as special abilities with each one having their own effect. The effects all have their uses and can really turn the tide of battle when used properly. The swords have their own separate energy meter, and different swords will cost different amounts of energy, so you will need to use them wisely. And also make sure your friend doesn't waste it all on Venom Shank. Dumbass. Speaking of friends, you can play this game solo, or we can queue up a party of up to 4 people. I am so impressed that somebody was actually able to put multiplayer in a turn-based RPG. Hell, I'm impressed a turn-based RPG is even in Roblox to begin with. It's crazy. But yeah, 4-player co-op. With this, you and your buddies can always be together to take on enemies and bosses. This party system is where you can really strategize the different loadouts to determine who plays what role on the team. And you better figure something out, because the challenge does scale with how many people are on your team. Quick note for you if you do play solo, you're actually given an extra turn to make up for your disadvantage, so the game is balanced around both playstyles. But hey, who said you had to make the game easier? While there are in fact cards that give you a boost, there are also cards that make the game more challenging. As soon as the game begins, you can activate a hard mode card that doubles the damage you take and halves the time of your dodge windows. There's also a card that outright disables XP gain, meaning you could go for a level 1 run like Kingdom Hearts. If you're really crazy, you can stack these two together for a truly growing experience that puts your dodge timing skills to the ultimate test. It's challenges like these that add an extra layer of replayability along with the potential of alternate loadouts. The game is updated by a chapter-to-chapter basis, and every chapter leads to a new expansion to this optional pit area. It's basically the Pit of 100 Trials in TTYD, where you go through many different floors where there being a battle to complete on each one. Every couple of floors, you get a formation that really ups the ante, and every final floor per chapter has a battle that is batshit insane. The pit can be a really great challenge to tackle as you wait for the next chapter to release. It's not like the main game itself is entirely a cakewalk either. Some regular enemy formations will require some careful thinking, and boss battles could really overwhelm you if you're not prepared. The game truly does require skill with a bit of strategy, and the difficulty is challenging yet fair. There's a solid balance between gameplay and story here. The loop is just satisfying. Go through some story beats, go through a dungeon or area and fight some enemies, maybe stop by a town and check everything there is to see, then right back to the action. It feels like a video game. The pacing never misses a beat, and neither does the writing. This game is fucking hilarious. So much of the dialogue is excellent comedic timing with plenty of NPCs who will say the silliest thing imaginable. The humor may not be so crude, but every so often you'll just get blindsided by something that might just make you crack up in laughter. The writers certainly understand the Mother series style of humor and then some. And yet, the game can still get surprisingly emotional. One moment you'll be chuckling at a great punchline, while later on you'll experience moments that are just so somber and have you wondering about the future of your journey. It's the perfect blend between comedy and being serious. All of this is at its peak in Chapter 3. Chapter 3! It's so good, but I don't want to spoil it! Just go play Block Tales and see for yourself! Comes great gameplay and story, also comes great music. The soundtrack is fully original and is absolutely amazing. There's a wide variety of groovy battle themes and funky overworld tunes. It's all pleasant to the ears, mostly. I'd say that a large portion of it sounds more Paper Mario influenced, but every few tracks, you'll hear something that truly sounds authentic to Earthbound. This game really is good at blending the two games together, like ketchup and fries. Okay, time for the gripes, I guess. I guess some enemy attacks are hard to find the dodge window for. Whatever, skill issue. Maybe it'd be cooler if your teammates actually appeared in cutscenes, cause they just vanish and only your player appears. Like, can't they just stand by at least or something? But who cares? I guess some balance updates are a bit annoying because they tend to ruin certain strategies, but just gotta adapt, I guess. There's this part where you're forced to use bombs against this Killbot that's kinda dumb and random, but it's just for one little part, so it barely matters. I feel like the scrolling health wheel when you take damage isn't as good as Earthbound, it just feels a bit awkward and clunky. I don't know. Okay, an actual gripe, and honestly, this is more of a personal opinion. For how much I've hyped up Chapter 3, I also feel like it may have been way too much. It's only the third chapter of the game, and I'm just worried that they may have blown their load a bit too early. Because are any of the future chapters going to be as epic as it was? The bar has been set really high, and I'm just hoping the next chapter will be able to follow the pace. Also, the inventory. I don't mind inventory management that much, but your items stack up really quick and you're stuck with only 10 slots. It can make the fishing grind a bit more painful. But, you know what? Fuck my complaints. You gotta play this game. It's so freaking good. Listen to me. Listen to me! Play Block Tales. Play Blocktails! Play Blocktails! Play Blocktails! Play Blocktails. One of the greatest things about this game, it's completely free. All you need is a Roblox account, and you can just hop in and play what's eventually going to be a full-fledged RPG packed with plenty of content. No pay-to-win game passes, no annoying bullcrap, a true and legit video game on Roblox. I think I made my point clear. Blocktails is a sparkling gem in this modern era of Roblox, and is a must-play if you're looking for new Roblox games to play, and or are a fan of the game it is based on. That about wraps everything up. Hopefully I've convinced some of you people to give all these games a look. I genuinely think they deserve it. I feel like I've probably angered the nostalgia kids with this video and made them feel betrayed or something. If any of those kids are watching this, I don't care. You little shits ruin everything. You weren't born in the old days of Roblox, so stop trying to hype it up when you have no experience with it. The games that I talk about in this video are simply something that you didn't get back in the early 2010s. It really goes to show how much Roblox has evolved as a platform. While not every update to Roblox has been all that good, the games themselves have evolved beyond the glorified walking simulators with occasional tools. Games have actual mechanics and systems now. They have a legitimately good presentation, and they have characters with lore and personality that are good enough to spawn fandoms of their very own. Yes, modern Roblox has its faults, many faults, but that doesn't mean everything about it has to be bad. I understand that Roblox games these days need to be constantly updated to maintain active player bases, and this is just wishful thinking, but I genuinely believe at some point that eventually, games will be good enough to keep long-lasting player counts simply for being high in quality and becoming certified classics. If we keep showing support to the actual good games made with passion and creativity, then maybe one day, Roblox will realize it, bring attention towards them, and stop filling the front page with slop. Hey everyone, just want to thank you all for watching this. This is my first time trying to make a video like this, and it pretty much took me half the year to make. It was a pretty big first endeavor since this video is practically an hour long. I'll be sure to try and take it more easily if I do this again. I do have a feeling a lot of stuff in this video might become outdated due to how long I took to make it, but I still stand by most of my points here. Even if I get flack for including stuff like Regretevator finding on here. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed this hour-long project of me yapping about Roblox games. I could try similar videos like this in the future if people like this enough. And like I said, I won't go as crazy as I did for this one. Seriously, going for a big video like this for a video essay style format when it's my first time wasn't the hottest move in my opinion. But yeah, I think I made my points loud and clear, so I'm gonna head out now. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. See ya!